Hey folks, this is Riker with some huge leaks on Diablo 4. Jason Schreier, a reputable source of leaks in the video game industry, came forth with a massive article after having spoken to a bunch of past and current employees at Blizzard. In this article, we learn about the scrapped second planned expansion for Diablo 3, the Diablo 4 that they started working on that was going to be a Dark Souls type game that got cancelled in 2016, and the current Diablo 4 that has been worked on since then, that as of January 2018, there were plans to have a playable demo at BlizzCon 2018, but they didn't have any of that ready in time. Now, I learned about this article during my Twitch stream, so what I'll present here is spliced together footage from that stream where we go through the article and go through all of these bombshell leaks from Jason Schreier. Let's roll it. The past, present, and future of Diablo. Jason Schreier. Ooh, okay. All right, I'm interested. Caller me interested. Jason Schreier has historically been a legit source of insider info. He has successfully predicted things like Fallout 76. Okay, I've spoken to 11 current and former Blizzard employees, all of whom spoke anonymously because they were not authorized to speak to press. They've told me about a canceled second expansion for Diablo 3. So we already kind of knew about that from the Forbes article. So this corroborates the Forbes article. There was a second planned expansion for Diablo 3, codenamed King of the North. About Diablo 4, which is indeed in development, but was rebooted in 2016. Okay, so Diablo 4 was in development, and it was rebooted 2 years ago. Okay. I thought it was rebooted more recently, actually. I thought it was rebooted this year. That's okay, so that's not too bad if it was rebooted in 2016. Uh-huh. Okay. How the specter of the cancelled game Titan hangs over many of Blizzard's decisions. This is why... So, my prediction here. Titan leaked, and there was huge community hype about Titan, and a lot of disappointment when Titan wasn't being officially revealed, and when Titan was then found out to have been cancelled. So my prediction here is that we're going to learn that Blizzard doesn't want to officially talk about Diablo 4 because they don't want to commit to Diablo 4 in case it starts taking too long, or they have to change the name, or change the game, or cancel it altogether. That's my prediction. Some of these people also raised questions about Activision's influence on the beloved video game company. So these are Blizzard employees, right? Yes. Current and former. Raised questions. Okay, well, I mean, raising questions isn't... Okay. So for anyone who's not aware, Activision merged with the publisher of Vivendi to become Activision Blizzard in 2008. But they were basically separate. They have their own campus. But this year, Blizzard employees say that one of the biggest ongoing conversations has been cutting costs. There's a concern that something deep within the company's culture may be changing. In late 2013, or perhaps early 2014, not long before the release of Reaper of Souls, Blizzard made an internal announcement that shocked the dev team. Diablo 3's second expansion was cancelled. Team 3, the Diablo team, hadn't done a ton of work on this second expansion. They were mostly focused on Reaper, but it was planned as their next project, and now it wasn't happening. What they told the team was, you finished Reaper of Souls, it's really good, but we think the best thing for the IP is to move to Diablo 4 in whatever form that'll be. I called it! The overall sense on the team, at least in my impression, was that there was a vote of no confidence from the executives. They thought Diablo 3 was a giant fuck-up. I've been saying this. This is what I've been saying. That they canceled... Okay. I am passionate right now because people would be like... Okay, because my argument was, I believe that in the eyes of Blizzard, the corporation, Diablo 3 was a failure. It was not a financial failure, because it made a lot of money, but it was a failure in that it damaged the Diablo brand in a way that was difficult to come back from. Reaper of Souls did a lot of work to buy back goodwill, but at that point, what is more profitable? To continue to work on Diablo 3, a game that in the eyes of a lot of people is not what they want, and they're not giving the game a second chance, or to start fresh with a new game, i.e. Diablo 4. It makes it's good business, it makes business sense to give up on Diablo 3 and focus entirely on the new title. This is what I've believed all these years. This is what we have confirmed now, that the upper brass, that the executives, assuming, this is all allegedly, assuming Jason Schreier is correct here and that his sources are legit. He's been right before, but he's also been wrong before, but I think he's clarified things when he was wrong. But this corroborates what I've felt was the case. They saw it as a screw-up, and they had to move on to the next thing. So this answers, why doesn't Blizzard release another expansion for Diablo 3? Why don't they pump more money into Diablo 3? Because all of that is being funneled into Diablo 4. Because in the eyes of the executives at Blizzard, Diablo 3 was just... It's a lost cause in their eyes. That more money could potentially be made from a new Diablo game than from continuing to put money into Diablo 3. And I feel bad for the Diablo 3 devs, because they've done great work, especially since Reaper of Souls. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people on the Diablo 3 team that were fighting tooth and nail to get any scraps of budget to bring us content. It's not that the devs don't want to bring us content. It's not that the devs are lazy or don't want to work on stuff. It's just that when the higher-ups are reallocating manpower and resources and saying, nope, we're putting you on another project, nope, we're downsizing this, nope, your budget's smaller this quarter, like, what can they do? Why would Blizzard cancel the second one? A lot of people felt stunned by it, said the person who was there. I think a lot of them felt like, we made mistakes on Diablo 3, but we learned and we made Reaper to show what we can do. We have fixed it. I agree with this. And Reaper's really good. I agree. I think a lot of people felt like we've figured it out and we know how to do this. And Expansion 2, whatever it would have been the highest expression of that. To have them pull the plug without really seeing how Reaper did really stung. Well, the reason they did it is because the next expansion, King of the North, could have been the best game Blizzard ever released, but a lot of people haven't even given Reaper of Souls a chance. Just Diablo 3 burned a lot of Diablo fans, unfortunately, in a way that they weren't willing to give the game another chance. And, like, to this day, I still sometimes hear people say, like, you know, I gave up on D3 during vanilla, and I just recently came back and, like, holy shit, this game is so much better now. So it's sad that, like, there's all these people that gave up on the game and they could have come back and enjoyed it, but they haven't just because of that first impression and everything that happened in 2012, 2013. It's still not clear why Blizzard wouldn't want to support a game that had been so commercially successful, but the theory on Team 3 was that Blizzard's management had lost faith in D3 and saw it as a failure, even though Reaper launched. The perception overall was that management thought, this team really screwed up, said one person who was there. They could have held off a few months and seen how Reaper did, but in their mind, Diablo 3 was irredeemable. Just what I was saying. When Reaper launched on PC, okay? Only a fraction of the 50 million copies, yeah, okay. So basically, Reaper sold a bunch, but still just a fraction of what the original D3 sold. So this is official from Blizzard. We've launched about 50% of the total projects we've worked on over the past 3 decades. Those are the ones we consider representative of Blizzard quality. Not shipping a game is never an easy decision to make, but it has always been the right decision for us. Canceling Titan led to Overwatch, and as another example, canceling Nomad led us to World of Warcraft. Nomad was what, Warcraft Adventures? So there's apparently a lot more canceled Blizzard projects than I knew about. I knew about Warcraft Adventures, Titan, and StarCraft Ghost. I suspected there were others, but to say 50%, that's really interesting. Cool. Okay, Team 3 was splitting up when Reaper of Souls launched. Some devs left the company. Others moved to different projects, like WoW or Overwatch. Some stuck around to work on patches for D3, but Team 3 was no longer in full swing. At the point they had the strongest Diablo development team ever, they scattered them all to the winds. It was a baffling move. Josh Mascara, he was the new, he replaced Jay Wilson as the game director, because he headed up the console version of D3, which Reaper of Souls ended up introducing a lot of the elements from the console version, which actually helped make D3 a better game. As much as I am PC Gamer Master Race, we have to thank the console version of D3 for some of the improvements we saw in Reaper of Souls. Whoa, hold on, what is this sentence? Josh Mascara would lead the development on the new project, which was codenamed Hades, Diablo 4. The goal was to take the franchise in a very different direction. That's why we weren't hearing from Josh Mascara for the longest time. Because he was on Diablo 4 and not Diablo 3 anymore. Mosquera and team designed Hades as a Diablo take on Dark Souls. According to 3 people familiar with the project, it would be a gothic, challenging dungeon crawler. Oh shit, so I speculated that Blizzard would potentially consider making a Dark Souls-like Diablo game, but that it would be Dark Souls Light, because Blizzard doesn't make challenging games, but, or, not that they don't make challenging games, but they make accessible games. That if they made a Dark Souls-style Diablo game, there would be an easy mode and a challenge mode. It would be over-the-shoulder, third-person. Some thought they might not even end up calling it Diablo 4, which makes sense. Like, you can make a new Diablo game that's not called Diablo 4, and I would still be freaking thrilled about it. I would have been thrilled about this game. I am, like, Dark Souls isn't a series that I super love, but I still would have been thrilled about a Diablo PC game, and would I have loved it as much as an ARPG Diablo game? Probably not. But would I have still been thrilled for this announcement? Yes. 2014 until 2016, it was Team 3's main project. They were working on... Oh, shit. Wow. So I suspected that if they were doing this, that they hadn't gone very far. I would have thought that it hadn't left the cutting room floor. In other words, that it was something they were kicking around as an idea, but now that they were actively developing a Diablo Dark Souls game. Damn. Until 2016. So, the rest of Team 3 was developing a handful of patches and light content updates for D3. Then, like Diablo 3's second expansion, Hades was cancelled. Why? I wish they could say why. Oh, there were many reasons. Okay, 2 people involved with Hades said it was going through rocky development. It was not shaping up at all. In the middle of 2016, Mosquera left Blizzard. Ah, yeah, so the timeline matches up. It's not clear whether he left because of Hades' cancellation or if Hades was cancelled because he left, but what's certain is that at that point the project was shelved. In the coming months, Blizzard's Team 3 would do 2 things. The developers who needed something to work on now that Hades was no more put together downloadable content for Diablo 3 called Rise of the Necromancer. That's why we got the Necromancer all of a sudden! Because their project got Diablo 4 got cancelled in its current iteration, so now they suddenly had a bunch of time and resources, and that's why Josh Mosquera had no idea that Rise of the Necromancer was in the works, because it was right after he left. That's when the project was cancelled. Okay. And some of them started working on a project codenamed Fenris. Ooh, I love it. Fenris is the current incarnation of Diablo 4. They've been working on this since 2016. That's 2016. That's when a bunch of the job... Wasn't that when we really started covering the job postings? Yes, it is, because I feel like we've been covering them for like 2 years, the job postings. So Fenris. Job postings have been for Fenris. They say they're optimistic about the direction. Design director Louis Barriga. Who is this guy? Louis Barriga. Game director, Blizzard Entertainment. He's been at Blizzard for 13 years. Game director since 2016 on the unannounced project. Lead game designer. Let's see what else we can find on this guy. So that just corroborated things. The fact that his LinkedIn says he's been a design director? No, hold on, what did it say? It's lead designer, right? Game director, yeah. Because that's what they call it at Blizzard. They don't call it design director, they say game director. Very strong vision for that game. What's his background? He's been at Blizzard for 13 years, what's his background? Lead game designer on WoW. So if he's the game director on Diablo 4, then that does suggest... If not an MMO, then MMO elements for sure. One key part of that vision is the art direction. During development of a game, many studios... Okay, the pillars, yes. Embrace the darkness. Embrace the darkness is one of the pillars of Diablo 4. There's a lot of people who felt like D3 got away from what made Diablo in terms of art style and spell effects. We're getting a darker Diablo 4, boys. How sad is it that right now, like, this has been the most exciting thing to come out of Diablo? Like, if they had just come out and said this, it's fine. Oh my god. They're aiming to make it look more like Diablo 2. They want to make it gross, make it dark. Get rid of anything that was considered cartoony in Diablo 3. Make what people were afraid of in Diablo 2. But modern. Still early development. Likely won't be out until 2020 or later. Fuck, 2020 is possible? Wow. After this BlizzCon, I thought for sure we weren't getting Diablo 4. Like, no way we'd even get it by 2020. But if Decisions may still change over time. conversation whether to keep isometric camera or go over the shoulder third person. Recent builds have been isometric, but it's still up in the air. Okay. More social, that's good. We need more social features in Diablo because that helps promote the community. Community is very... So, I've had to go back on things. In Diablo 2, I didn't partake in trading. I had friends who traded. So that's how I was indirectly partaking in trading. Because I would do it through my friends. They would do the trading dirty work. So in Diablo 3, I was like glad like when there was like, okay, there was the auction house, but then after that, when it basically turned into no trading at all, because the current trading in Diablo 3 is basically no trading. I was like, hooray, I hate trading in games. I was wrong. Because that hurt the community. Having an active trading scene helps the community, and having a community helps keep a game alive in the long run. So, when I spoke to David Brevik, what he proposed as a trading system is something that I have now got on board with. He thinks that Diablo 2, there was too much trading. Not too much trading, but he believes, take Diablo 2 system, but then there have to be some items that you can always trade, some that you can never trade, and some items with limited trading. Be it bind on equip, or it could be traded, it can go through 3 players before it's bound, something like that. Some limited form of trading for certain items. And I am totally on board with this path. Okay. Trading is just one form of a social feature. But I would love to see, like, guild halls and, like, clan activities and stuff. Light MMO elements. Okay, hub cities. I'm fine with city hubs. Like in Path of Exile. I hope it's not open world areas. I think it's gonna be open world areas. I think that's the rumor. Instance dungeons, yeah. Okay, like this I like. So, I'm totally cool with...
Good news gives hope.
Battle.net.
But still long way off.
Town. I like the idea of Battle.net Town. For Diablo 2, they wanted to create Battle.net Town, which would have been an MMO town hub, rather than game lobbies. They did not have time to finish this project. They launched with it as it was. Or they put together the Battle.net system that we became familiar with. I am cool with the idea of turning the game lobby system into a more immersive and interactive kind of in-game experience. That's super cool. Like Westmarch is our huge multiplayer town hub. Cool. Whatever city, whatever it is. Awesome. But then we go into instance dungeons, as opposed to like free roam open world areas where just people are randomly doing stuff. The question that kept getting asked is there going to be a strike equivalent where you're forced into a very story-focused, well-designed level of a dungeon? What does that look like in Diablo? Well, what if we still had a core Diablo game that just happened to have a bunch of people on the map to do other cool stuff? What if we had a core Diablo game that just happened to have a bunch of people on the map to do other cool stuff? If it's in a town, I'm cool with that. If it's out in the open, I'm less cool with that. But that's my personal preference. I'm not saying that's bad design. That's how MMORPGs do it. That's why I don't like MMORPGs, but there's clearly a huge audience for that. Blizzard has not yet found a way to deliver the same sort of cash generator with Diablo up to this point, yes. The company's always struggled as to how to have some sort of long-tail monetization for Diablo 3, acknowledged one former employee. So, the monetization of system for Fenris is still up in the air and may not be clear for a long time. So, I think that lends some credence to what Alan Adham was saying, or what I think even Wyatt was saying it, that, like, when they develop a game, they focus on the gameplay first, then they start thinking about monetization, rather than like, okay, we're building this from the ground up to be a cash cow kind of game. Fenris is still early, and all these ideas may change. Okay. Why wouldn't Blizzard just talk about it? So again, my prediction is that they don't want another Titan experience. The company has hinted at the game's existence, insisting in blog posts and on live streams that it has multiple Diablo projects in the works, but using the words Diablo 4 might have quelled much of the outrage over Diablo Immortal. Earlier this month, I reported that Blizzard had made a video of BlizzCon. Right, okay. So this is the bit where he was wrong. This is the bit where Jason Schreier admits that he got something wrong. He reported that Blizzard had made a video for BlizzCon in which co-founder Alan Adham talked about Diablo 4. And so basically what Jason Schreier was saying was they had this video prepared months in advance for BlizzCon, and then they decided to not show it at BlizzCon. Blizzard later disputed that the video had been made for BlizzCon. In conversations since then, two sources told me that regardless of the company's statement, there had been plans throughout 2018 to announce the game this year. Yeah, what he corrected his statement to say they didn't make the video, but there were plans to make the video with Alan Adham. In January, they were still full set on, we're going to do this right, we're going to have a playable demo. By the time we'd hit May, the game wasn't far enough along. It's normal problems, things going slower than they'd like. Holy shit, so in January, they thought that they would have a playable demo by BlizzCon? Wow. That's promising. That's promising as to so I've been feeling like we're gonna have to wait years. But if they thought in January of 2018 that they would have a playable demo by BlizzCon. I mean, they realized that they wouldn't, but then there's some hope maybe for next BlizzCon. Hey, let's not go there though. By the time we'd hit May, the game wasn't far enough along and okay. Holy shit, so my impression, I thought that there was no chance that BlizzCon 2018 would have had a playable demo of Diablo 4. Or I thought it would have been very unlikely. The fact that they thought at some point that they would have it, that is very interesting. By summer, they were still under the impression that a tease was happening. Uh-oh. When Brandy made her video? No. I think it's semantics. If they change their mind at any point, they can say, oh, it wasn't scheduled. At least what we were told as a development team. It was supposed to get teased. That was always the intention. So as of summer, they were intending to at least tease Diablo 4. So they were on board with the idea of a teaser! On the flip side, a current dev in a non-Diablo department who was involved in BlizzCon planning told me that to their knowledge, there was no Diablo 4 announcement ever planned for the show. Okay. Yeah, and the BlizzCon scheduling happens far in advance. Here's one theory as to why Blizzard is haunted by the specter of Titan, just what we suspected. Blizzard had acknowledged the project in 2018. Oh, I forgot that Blizzard had acknowledged Titan. Interesting. So with Fenris fairly early in development, and with the fourth Diablo already having gone through one big reboot, it's fair to wonder if the team was worried about another lengthy dev cycle that might end in disaster. Even the words Diablo 4 might have set expectations that the devs didn't want to establish just yet. The Diablo team is very paranoid about saying something too soon and then getting stuck in a loop, said one former Blizzard developer. They don't want to show the game until they have a trailer, a demo. Obviously, Titan looms over all of us, said another former Blizzard developer. Despite Overwatch's emergence from Titan's ashes, the dev added, people don't look at Titan and see a success. I think there's a desire to announce stuff within a reasonably close proximity to when people are going to get to play it, said a current Blizz dev, pointing to both Titan and Blizzard's other infamously cancelled project, StarCraft Ghost. Those just set people up for a lot of disappointment. Blizzard confirmed as much in a statement. In terms of unannounced games, so much can change over the course of dev based on how we're feeling about the progress and direction. We try not to share details about unannounced projects before we're ready. Okay. How much has Titan affect Blizzard's dev process? Over the past few years, we've seen Titan's 7 to 8 year cycle. Over the past few years, we've seen Titan's 7 to 8 year cycle. Diablo 3, which entered development in the early 2000s but was not released until 2012. Okay, some veteran Blizzard devs have spent over 10 years on a single project, which has driven some of them to crave smaller, shorter games. Was Diablo Immortal's development detracting from other Diablo games? That's a good question. Okay, they're being developed by different teams of people in different divisions. Fenris is being made by Team 3, by the Diablo team. Diablo Immortal is partially developed by NetEase and partially made by a small group of Blizzard employees who work for one of the company's newest departments, Incubation. Yes, true. So the Incubation is an entirely new team at Blizzard, as of a few years ago. But it's separate from the Diablo team. So I guess that confirms that then dev resources were not taken away from Diablo 4 to work on Immortal. That's interesting. So Alan Adham announced that he would be heading up development. So my theory was that Diablo Immortal was Alan Adham's brainchild, and that he had that idea as of 2016. I don't know if that's true. Let's see if we get any insight on this. Wyatt Cheng joined Blizzard North to work on Diablo 3. Been working on the game for over a decade, wanted a break, understandably. At some point in 2016 or 2017, the two companies decided to collaborate, putting together what will be called Diablo Immortal. Okay, so we know that Diablo Immortal has not been in the works for just a few months. So I guess Wyatt must have misspoken in his interview. So there's an interview with IGN in which Wyatt says something to the effect of, early on in development, just a few months ago, blah, 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 blah. I think what he meant to say was, I think he just meant that at some point earlier on in development. Maybe he even says earlier and we just misheard. Because yeah, it doesn't really make sense that this partnership with like NetEase and everything, all this just happened in like a few months since August or whatever. At some point in 2016 or 2017, the two companies decided to collaborate. And this matches up with the timeline of when Wyatt Cheng left the Diablo 3 team, because he suddenly disappeared from the public eye around the time of the Necromancer launch, which was the Necromancer development, which was 2016. Essentially, Diablo Immortal exists because we've heard that China really wants it. It really is for China. Confirms our suspicion. 3 Blizzard sources told me that the original plan for Diablo Immortal had been to release it only in China at first for a few months or maybe a year, in large part to test it out among Chinese fans before releasing it in the West. Okay, would that have gone better or worse? Let's think about it. Would it have gone better if Blizzard suddenly released a mobile game just in China? A mobile Diablo game just in China? Would people have been more or less upset? It's hard to say. I feel like we want to say we would have been less upset by that, but I don't think that's the case, because now my prediction is they felt they had to also release it in the West in order to not make Western fans feel neglected. It's the Kobayashi Maru. It is the no-win scenario. Oh man. The best they could have done, this is what they had to do. They had to secretly release the game in China. And somehow, like, no. Yeah, secretly release it in China. In some form of, like, intranet. Like, make everyone who plays it, put them under NDA so no word of this can leak to the West. They tested it out in China for a while. Oh, man. The quality bar in the Chinese market, especially for frame rate, is extremely low. You can release something that'd be considered alpha footage here and it'd be a finished game there. Blizzard decided to take more time to polish the game and prepare it for a simultaneous global announcement and release. Blizzard's developers genuinely want to make these mobile games. Some current and former employees insist that these games are in development because Blizzard's devs genuinely want to make them. There are lots of mobile game players at Blizzard, said a current dev. There are lots of people actually excited about mobile games. The reaction inside the company to Immortal is very different than the reaction outside the company. Part of the thinking on a lot of these is people want to work on smaller projects. Smaller projects in mobile tend to make sense. Quite a few people at Blizzard play Pokemon Go. The iconic orc statue in the center of Blizzard's campus is a Pokestop. Nice. And staff wage war over who gets to control the landmark on a daily basis. That's hilarious. With mobile games, Blizzard can please Activision's investors by appealing to burgeoning video game markets in China and India, and Blizzard could also satisfy its veteran devs by letting them work on smaller projects that they really want to make. The reality is, everything that is in incubation at Blizzard is in incubation because Alan Adham believed they were worthwhile. These mobile games might not appeal to as many of Blizzard's hardcore fans, those who prefer to play games mainly on PCs, but they have appealed very much to the devs. Okay. I guess, so I could understand wanting to work on a smaller project. Like, imagine getting a job where you're not allowed to talk about the project for like 10 years. Like, I mean, so you're free to leave the job at any point, but like, you're going to be working on the same thing for 10 years without really getting to see the results.
Time to die.
I can see how that's discouraging. I can see how you'd want to work on a smaller project, get it done, not get stuck in development hell, not get burnt out on working on the same thing for 10 years. As a reminder, folks, these are not prepared statements from Blizzard. These are former and current Blizzard employees anonymously speaking to Jason Schreier, someone who is known for legitimately leaking information in the video game industry. Over the past year, Activision's influence on Blizzard has been very real, and Blizzard staff say things are starting to feel a little different for the once autonomous company. Ooh. Drama. Okay. In spring of 2018, during Blizzard's annual company-wide battle plan meeting, the CFO Amrita Ahuja spoke to all the staff, according to two people who were there. In what came as a surprise to many, she told Blizzard that one of the company's goals for the coming year was to save money. This is the first year we've heard a priority being cutting costs and trying not to spend as much. It was presented as, don't spend money where it isn't necessary. Uh-oh. Okay, there was a perception among Blizzard staff that she had come in to clean up the spreadsheets, to save as much money as possible, while at the same time bolstering Blizzard's product output. We actively recruited her, and we chose her out of a large, very competitive, and highly qualified set of candidates. Overwatch had been a smash hit, but in 2017 and 18, the company shipped very little. There was a StarCraft remaster, a World of Warcraft expansion, and of course, patches and updates to their other games. For their other games. That was it. Traditionally, Blizzard has remained entirely separate from Activision, with its own quality standards and branding. I think we're leading up to why Mike Morhaime stepped down. Uh-oh. Oh, this is concerning. To the point where they felt like two different companies. You might be able to find WoW Easter eggs in StarCraft 2, but you never see an Overwatch character in Call of Duty. In recent years, however, that's changed. Blizzard's digital store, Battle.net.
Time to die.
Hey-oh, there's Call of Duty here. There's Destiny 2 here. So they put the Activision games on Battle.net, yes. Bungie appeared on the BlizzCon 2018 stream to announce that Destiny 2 would be temporarily free. So the first boo that happened at BlizzCon was in the pre-show when they mentioned Destiny 2. The audience booed. There's been a perception among Blizzard developers that the two companies are growing more and more intertwined. 2018 would be a weak year for Activision. The publisher was unhappy with Destiny's performance and would take a major stock hit in November, following fiscal third quarter results that disappointed investors. People were like, oh, it's all the Diablo stuff that made, you know, the stock plummet. It's really not. It was the fiscal report. One worrying trend for the bean counters was the stagnancy of Blizzard's monthly active users, which are seen as a pivotal metric for service games like Hearthstone and Overwatch. Throughout 2018, as Activision has told investors, those numbers have declined. Combined with Blizzard's lack of new games, it's easy to see why Activision's executives may have wanted to intervene. You would have thought Blizzard was going under and we had no money, said a former Blizzard staffer, who told me they left the company this year in part because of Activision's influence. The way every little thing was being scrutinized from a spend perspective. That's obviously not the case, but this was the very first time I ever heard we need to show growth. That was just so incredibly disheartening for me. Blizzard appears to be bolstering headcount for its dev teams. One current dev said their team was encouraged to get bigger while cutting as many costs as possible elsewhere. Hire more staff, but lower costs. Take a cut out of everyone's salary to pay our new employee, and then take another cut out of everyone's salary. It's a process that may not be done yet, as Activision seems to still be looking to boost Blizzard's content output and release more games on a regular schedule. Ahuya's comments in the spring of 2018 may have simply been the beginning. We are being told to spend less at every corner because we have no new IP, intellectual property. Because Overwatch set this bar of how much we could earn in a single year, there's a ton of pressure from Activision to get shit moving. They want something to show shareholders. Diablo 4. Then in 2018, Blizzard lost its leader. Co-founder Mike Morhaime, the soft-spoken CEO who jovially addressed fans at every BlizzCon, said he was stepping down to be replaced by veteran WoW producer J. Allen Brack. Alan Adham and Chief Development Officer Ray Gresco also joined Blizzard's executive management team, perhaps to help ensure that the studio would be helped by game developers who lived and breathed Blizzard. It was a massive shakeup for Blizzard, and it came during a time when there were already questions about Activision's influences. Morhaime was widely beloved at the company. One former Blizz dev described him as the anti-CEO. I was already sad about Morhaime stepping down. Now this makes me more sad, because it's confirming what our concerns were. He doesn't care about profitability, that person said. He just wants employees to be happy, and he just wants to make good games and keep the community happy. So the rumor about the cancelled second Diablo expansion was that Mike Morhaime said whatever had been made, whatever had already been worked on for the second expansion, just polish it up and release it to everyone for free. So, like the extra areas and possibly Kanai's Cube, like a lot of content patches that we got after Reaper of Souls, that was just Mike Morhaime being like, just give the players free stuff. He just wants employees to be happy. He just wants to make good games and keep the community happy. Oh, Mike. Suddenly, there were whispers in hallways, concerns about future cost-cutting initiatives, and furtive exchanges about what plans Activision CEO Bobby Kotick might have in mind for Blizzard. There's a perception within Blizzard that finance is making more calls than they ever did in the past. You never heard that 3 or 4 years ago. Cultural shifts aren't always blatant. Anyone who's worked for a major corp can attest to the invisible pressures that can emerge over time. We're almost done the article. There's a temptation to cast Activision as the villain, said one current dev. I think the influences are far more subtle than that. Someone at Blizzard might make a decision with a best of intentions in mind, but if they subconsciously know that their corporate bosses at Activision want to cut costs and please investors, who knows how that might affect their judgment. With Activision and Blizzard growing less and less separate, what kind of overlaps will we see across their various divisions? I remember a lot of us looking at each other and saying, man, if we had just done that second expansion instead of losing half the team as a result of the cancellation, and then all of the personnel changes, management changes, then this walk down the road of Hades, the Dark Souls Diablo game, if we hadn't done any of that and had just focused on doing a solid third act for Diablo, it'd be out by now. So some who worked at Blizzard believe that canceling Diablo's second expansion was one of the company's biggest mistakes in recent years. Wow. There is a future for Diablo, one that isn't solely limited to mobile games. Diablo 3 may have wound down, but Diablo 4 is still in the works despite the culture of secrecy that has prevented Blizzard from mentioning it by name. There's no way to know what may happen to the project in the future, but right now it exists. The big question is, what will Blizzard look like in 2 years, in 5? How will corporate expectations and tensions impact what has been one of the most beloved companies in video games for nearly 3 decades? 3 decades. We may not know the answers until BlizzCon 2028. So some of the big takeaways from the article. There definitely was a second expansion plan for Diablo 3. It was cancelled in either 2013 or 2014, before the launch of Reaper of Souls. Work on the new Diablo game then started. It was codenamed Hades, and it was going to be a Dark Souls style game. Josh Mascara, the game director of Diablo 3, was put in charge of the project. Then around the time that Josh left Blizzard was when that game was cancelled, and development on Diablo 4 rebooted into its current form. So Diablo 4, now codenamed Fenris, which is a more traditional action RPG with MMO elements, has been in solid development for 2 years. And at the start of 2018, they thought they would have a playable demo by BlizzCon 2018. But then by spring, they knew that it would not be the case. But they still thought by summer that they would at least be teasing Diablo 4 at BlizzCon 2018. And that's going to wrap up this video. These were some major leaks. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider becoming a Royal Raider on Patreon, where your support is immensely appreciated. We've got a variety of backer rewards, including behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rikers Raiders for more gaming content. And happy Thanksgiving.